Hey team, Matt Romantic here, and I just want to start out by saying this is not financial advice. This is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only, so hopefully you learn a little bit here and we have a little bit of fun in the process too. Don't forget to like and subscribe below. That's going to help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. It's also going to help a lot more people come across this amazing video. The Metaverse, cryptocurrency, blockchain, NFTs, Apple, Facebook, Decentraland, Sandbox, pandemic, war, inflation, real estate. All these things could be creating a lot of confusion, and when you layer on top of it things like inflation and war, then we could be approaching Britney Spears' I need to shave my head level of crazy, because I'm getting pretty close. Let's face it, there's a lot going on right now. And within that, there's a lot going on with innovation. And companies are battling for the metaverse, which is the future of the internet and likely the future of our lives. So let's dive in. But first, we're all going to take a deep breath. We're going to play the long game, and we're in this together. Let's start by defining what the metaverse is. I found a definition of the metaverse online that I really liked, and it goes like this. Optimistic futurists describe the metaverse as a decentralized virtual world not controlled by one corporation. They're optimistic because of the word decentralized, but if Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, or Nvidia could have it their way, they'd probably control it for sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Outside of these big companies that I know you're all well aware of, there's also some smaller up-and-coming companies as well, like Decentraland and Sandbox, who are creating their own metaverse-type platforms. So not only are the big boys playing, but we have some smaller up-and-comers as well. But we're going to dive into those four major companies I talked about before. So let's dive into how these four major companies are charging into the metaverse and how you can invest in all of them today, including Amazon, Tesla, and Google. So first of all, let's start with Apple. And Apple's made it clear on where they stand about the metaverse in the future. In fact, you won't even hear their CEO, Tim Cook, mention the M word. Instead, Apple wants to focus on what it does best, and that's focusing on how humans interact with machines, not go further into the machine world. And at first you might think these terms are interchangeable, but in fact, there's a big difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. And that's exactly what Apple plans to do in the future, is focus more on augmented reality. That means that they want to focus on putting layers or skins on top of the real world that we're already living in, rather than actually transporting us into this other world, again, the M word. Apple plans to launch this in the future through their new eyewear, should be coming soon, so eventually, I get to ditch my Ray-Bans. Okay, next up we're going to talk about Microsoft. Microsoft just announced a massive $70 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard. And if you don't know who Activision Blizzard is, they're the company that makes famous games like Call of Duty, who you probably know like a younger sibling who plays, or even Candy Crush. And while gaming is huge right now and will continue to be in the future, this is Microsoft putting their foot down and putting a foothold on what they think is going to be the future of the metaverse. Microsoft is essentially betting that gaming has a big future in the metaverse, and they look to expand beyond their Xbox console. Activision has over 400 million monthly users, so it should be interesting to see how this Microsoft deal ends up playing out. Meta, or Facebook, yes, that's still a thing. Meta is now the parent company of Facebook. They have almost 3 billion active users on Facebook. That stat alone is just mind-boggling as far as user base goes. And that's not to mention other apps that they have like WhatsApp, Instagram, or even Oculus. All that to be said, Zuckerberg made quite the statement by changing the name of the company to Meta. This is something I don't take lightly because, again, this is the guy that got all of us to sign up for his website. P.S. Did you know that Oculus headsets actually outsold Xbox each year for the last 5 years? That was a stat that once I heard definitely opened my eyes up a little bit more to what's happening with Facebook, Meta, and the Metaverse. And Meta, of course, already has its own Metaverse platform. It's called Horizon Lands, and just this week I believe they hit 300,000 active users, and they've had almost 10x growth in the last 3 months. You could check out plenty of press releases on your own. You can watch videos about Mark Zuckerberg releasing what he thinks is going to be the future of the metaverse and therefore, again, the internet. He talks about things like us going to work meetings instead of sitting on Zoom. We would be sitting at a round table literally with our coworkers in the metaverse, having that virtual meeting in a virtual LAN instead of just looking at our computer screens, kind of like we've been doing the last 2 years. So clearly Zuckerberg is full speed ahead on the metaverse, while Apple still wants to keep us in the real world to some degree. Which again, I think is going to be interesting to see how the two play out. And I'm not saying that both can exist as they do today, but it's all going to be very, very interesting. Okay, fourth, last, and definitely not least is Nvidia. And if you haven't heard of Nvidia, then you probably don't know who Jim Cramer is. And he named this dog this years ago, before Nvidia was kind of hitting its stride like it is today. But Nvidia has had amazing growth. Their stock over the last year has actually more than doubled. Now, recently it is cooling down because of, the current macroeconomic issues, but there's still a lot of strength and power behind this stock, and people do see a very bright and optimistic future regarding Nvidia. And if you haven't seen the news, Toyota just overtook GM as America's top selling automaker. Now, this is the first time in history that a non-American company has taken the reins in America. So for a lot of people, this is a very eye-opening situation. And why did this happen? Chips. No, not those kind of chips. Those chips. Do you know what you need to build a gaming PC to play games like Call of Duty with your friends online? Chips. Do you know what you need to mine cryptocurrency at home, like a lot of people are doing these days? Chips. Who makes chips? Nvidia. They do more, but let's face it, chips are ruling our lives right now, whether you're aware of it or not. Getting your hands on these Nvidia chips is a lot like getting your hands on an exclusive pair of Michael Jordan shoes. And I work at Nike, so I've seen the people line up. I've seen the people wake up early on Saturday morning and try to get on that sneakers app and get those new J's on that Saturday morning. And honestly, that's the same thing happening in the chip world. And I know this firsthand because I mine crypto myself. But we're talking about raffles, lining up at stores, or just having to know a guy. And of course there's that other option too, just overpaying on eBay. Because of course, supply and demand. They're always sold out. Chip companies are working to fix this problem, but as we sit today, demand is higher than ever. So we talked about 4 great companies today: Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Nvidia. These are companies that are going to be around forever, and to be honest, if you were to buy one share of their stock as of Tuesday night, February 22nd, it would cost you $888.02. What if I told you that you could get all of these stocks, but also throw in Amazon, Tesla, and even a Google? And what if I told you that you could get all, 7 or 8 stocks that I've mentioned today for the price of $338.08? And I know you're wondering, how, Matt? How can I get this amazing discount? Well, with one simple investment, QQQ. QQQ is an ETF that tracks the NASDAQ 100. So if you want a piece of the NASDAQ and the metaverse, QQQ is the way. And if you don't know, I post a video every Wednesday, so I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.